The weight of distance. Marcus Williams sat on the fire escape outside his third-floor apartment, watching the sun bleed orange across the Bronx skyline. 3 days had passed since Miguel left with Diego Santos, and the silence from his friend felt like a physical weight pressing against his chest. Below, kids shrieked as they ran through the spray of an open hydrant, their laughter sharp and innocent in the humid evening air. He tried Miguel's apartment twice. The first time, Miguel's mother, a tired woman with permanent worry lines etched around her mouth, had answered the door in her factory uniform, home between shifts. She'd looked at Marcus with something like pity and said Miguel was working. The second time, no one answered at all, though Marcus could hear movement inside and saw a shadow pass across the window. The Columbia acceptance letter sat folded in his back pocket, creased from constant handling. 2 months. He had 2 months before he walked through those gates into a different world, leaving behind everything he'd ever known. The thought should have excited him. Instead, it felt like betrayal. You planning to sit out there all night? Marcus turned to see his mother leaning out the window, her nurse's scrubs replaced by a faded house dress. Helen Williams was 42, but looked older, her hands rough from years of double shifts at Bronx Lebanon Hospital. She'd raised Marcus alone since his father died when he was 6, a construction accident that left them with nothing but memories and a modest insurance payout she'd stretched like taffy to cover 15 years of bills. Just thinking, Ma. Thinking won't change what's already done. She studied him with those knowing eyes that saw through every defense he'd ever tried to build. Miguel made his choice. Because of me. Because I'm leaving and he's got nothing. Helen climbed out onto the fire escape, settling beside him with a soft grunt. The metal creaked under their combined weight. Baby, you listen to me. Miguel Rodriguez made his choice because he's scared and in love and doesn't see any other way forward. That's not on you. You carrying that guilt won't help him, and it sure as hell won't help you. How am I supposed to just leave? Tommy barely talks to me. Ray's trying to play peacemaker, but I can see it in his eyes. He thinks I'm abandoning them. And Miguel, Marcus's voice cracked. Miguel's working for a goddamn drug dealer. Diego Santos deals in more than drugs, Helen said quietly. He deals in fear, in obligation, in making people think they don't have choices when they do. She took his hand, her palm calloused and warm. Your father and I, we grew up in this neighborhood. We watched our friends get swallowed by it, some by violence, some by poverty, some by their own bad decisions. Your father made me promise, before he died, that we'd get you out, that you'd be the one who made it. Marcus had heard this story before, but tonight it hit different. And what about the ones who don't make it out? You can't save everyone, Marcus. Sometimes the best thing you can do is succeed, and then reach back to pull others up when you're strong enough to do it. A police siren wailed in the distance, growing louder then fading away toward Hunts Point. Marcus watched the kids below scatter from the hydrant as a patrol car cruised past, the cops inside eyeing the street with casual suspicion. I'm going to find him, Marcus said. Tomorrow. I'm going to talk to Miguel, make him understand he can still get out of this. Helen squeezed his hand once, hard, then released it. Just be careful. Diego Santos isn't someone you want to cross, and Miguel's in his world now. That changes things. Tommy Ritchie's father was drunk again. Tommy could tell from the sound of the footsteps on the stairs, heavy, uneven, punctuated by a pause every few steps as Frank Ritchie caught his balance against the wall. It was 10:30 on a Thursday night, which meant his father had closed down O'Malley's bar on 161st Street, the same bar where he'd been spending his unemployment checks since the Chrysler plant laid him off 3 months ago. Tommy sat at the kitchen table, pretending to read a magazine about cars he couldn't afford. His mother had taken his younger sister Marie to her grandmother's house in Queens for the week, a tactical retreat she'd perfected over the years. She always knew when to clear out, when Frank's drinking would tip from melancholy to mean. The apartment door opened and Frank stumbled in, his work shirt, the one he still wore out of habit despite having no work, stained with beer and cigarette ash. He was a big man, 6'2" and broad-shouldered, with hands that had built engines and now built nothing but resentment. Tommy, his father's voice was thick, words sliding into each other. My son, the one who's going to spend his whole life in this shithole. Tommy didn't look up from the magazine. You're drunk, Pop. Go to bed. Drunk, Frank laughed, a harsh bark that held no humor. Yeah, I'm drunk. You know what I'm not? I'm not smart enough to get out like your friend Marcus. I'm not smart enough to go to some fancy college and forget where I came from. Marcus didn't forget anything. No? Frank moved closer, and Tommy tensed despite himself. His father had never hit him, not really, not more than the occasional backhand when Tommy was younger, but drunk Frank was unpredictable. Then why didn't he tell you? His best friend, and he kept it secret. You know why? Because he knew. He knew you're stuck here, and he didn't want to rub it in your face. The words hit harder than any fist could have. Tommy stood up, the chair scraping against the linoleum floor. Shut up. Truth hurts, don't it? Frank swayed, catching himself on the counter. I had friends like that once. Friends who made it out while I stayed behind to take care of my sick mother, to work at the plant like my old man. You know where those friends are now? Gone. They don't call, don't write. Once you're out, you're out. You're just a reminder of everything they escaped. Tommy felt something hot and tight building in his chest. Marcus isn't like that. Keep telling yourself that, kid. See where it gets you. Frank pushed past him toward the bedroom, then stopped in the doorway. When he spoke again, his voice had lost some of its edge, replaced by something that might have been sadness. I'm sorry, Tommy. I'm sorry you got stuck with me instead of someone who could have given you a better shot. Then he was gone, the bedroom door closing with a soft click that somehow felt louder than a slam. Tommy stood in the kitchen for a long moment, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the muffled sound of a television from next door. He thought about Marcus, about the acceptance letter and the scholarship, and the whole bright future spreading out like a highway. His friend would travel, while Tommy stayed behind, working construction or at the docks, or maybe following his father's path to O'Malley's bar. He thought about Miguel, who'd made his own choice. A bad one, maybe, but at least it was a choice. At least Miguel had taken action, instead of just sitting around waiting for life to happen to him. Tommy grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. He needed air. He needed to move. He needed to not be in this apartment where failure hung in the air like cigarette smoke. Raymond Tucker found Carmen Santos at the basketball court on 163rd Street, sitting alone on the bleachers while a pickup game raged under the lights. She wore a yellow sundress that seemed to glow in the darkness. Her long, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She was watching the game, but not really seeing it, her eyes distant and sad. Ray had been looking for her since yesterday, checking all the places Miguel used to meet her. Crotona Park, the library on Tremont Avenue, the bodega on her corner. Finding her here, in neutral territory, away from her brother's usual haunts, felt like a small miracle. He climbed the bleachers and sat beside her, leaving a respectful distance between them. Hey, Carmen glanced at him, and he saw she'd been crying. Her eyes were red-rimmed, mascara smudged at the corners. If you're here to tell me to stay away from Miguel, you're too late. Diego already made that clear. I'm not here for that. Ray watched the game for a moment, buying time to figure out what he actually wanted to say. Two guys he recognized from the neighborhood were going at it, all elbows and trash talk. I'm here because I think you might be the only person who can help him. Carmen's laugh was bitter. Help him? I'm the reason he's in this mess. If he'd never met me, if I just stayed away like I should have. Miguel made his own choice, Ray interrupted. Just like Marcus made his. Just like we all have to. He turned to look at her directly. But I need to know something. Did you know? Did you know your brother was using you to get to Miguel? The question hung between them. On the court, someone scored, and the players erupted in celebration and argument. Carmen was quiet for so long, Ray thought she might not answer. I suspected, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Not at first. At first, I just thought Miguel was this sweet, handsome guy who looked at me like I was more than Diego Santos's little sister. But then Diego started asking questions. Casual, like he was just being an overprotective brother. What does Miguel want to do with his life? Does he have plans for college? What about his friends? And I told him. Because I'm stupid, and I thought he was just trying to look out for me. She wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. Miguel was already in deep, and I was already in love with him. What was I supposed to do? Tell him my brother was manipulating us both? He would have hated me. He wouldn't have, Ray said, though he wasn't entirely sure that was true. But he needs to know now. He needs to understand that Diego planned this from the beginning. Why? What difference does it make? Miguel's already working for him. The deal is done. Because Miguel thinks he made a choice to protect his friends and be with you. But if he knows Diego engineered the whole thing, that it was all a setup, maybe that changes how he sees it. Maybe that gives him a reason to walk away. Carmen shook her head. You don't walk away from Diego, not once you're in. He'll hurt Miguel. He'll hurt all of you. He's already hurting us, Ray said. He's tearing us apart, and we're letting him do it. A voice called out from the court, Yo, Ray, we need one more. Ray ignored it, focused on Carmen. Where is Miguel? Where does Diego have him working? I don't know exactly. Diego doesn't tell me details, but I know Miguel's been at the social club on Prospect Avenue. That's where Diego runs things from. Ray nodded, filing away the information. The social club was heavy territory, the kind of place you didn't just walk into unless you had business or a death wish. One more thing. Does Diego know about Marcus? About Colombia? He knows everything, Carmen said. He's been watching all of you for weeks. He knows Marcus is leaving, knows Tommy's angry about it, knows you got into City College but probably can't afford to go. He knows all of it, and he's using it. The words settled over Ray like a cold blanket despite the summer heat. Diego Santos had been playing chess while they'd been playing checkers, and they were only just now realizing they were even in a game. Thank you, Ray said, standing up, for telling me the truth. Ray? Carmen's voice stopped him. Miguel really does love me. I know you probably think I'm just some gang leader's sister who got your friend in trouble, but what we have, it's real, at least to us. Ray looked at her. 17 years old, trapped in her brother's world, in love with a boy she couldn't have without destroying him. I know, he said. That's what makes it so hard. Miguel Rodriguez stood in the back room of Diego's social club, counting money. The bills were mostly small denominations, 5s, 10s, 20s, bundled with rubber bands and stacked in a cardboard box that had once held canned tomatoes. Diego sat at a card table nearby, playing dominoes with 3 of his crew. Flaco, a thin man with nervous energy, Benny, who'd done time in Rikers for assault, and Carlos, Diego's cousin and enforcer. It had been 3 days since Miguel made the deal, and so far the work had been exactly what Diego promised. Simple, no violence, just counting and running errands. Pick up a package here, deliver an envelope there, keep track of the money flowing through Diego's various enterprises. Miguel was good with numbers, always had been, and Diego had noticed. You're quick, Diego said, slapping down a domino. Quicker than the last guy I had doing this. He kept screwing up the count, skimming a little here and there. You know what happened to him? Miguel didn't answer, didn't want to know. He kept counting, his fingers moving mechanically through the bills. He's working at a car wash in Yonkers now, Diego continued laughing. I let him go with all his fingers attached. See, I'm not unreasonable. You do right by me, I do right by you. Flaco snorted. That's because his mother worked with your mother at the laundry. Otherwise nothing. Diego cut him off, his voice sharp. I said what I said. The room went quiet except for the click of dominoes. Miguel finished counting the last stack, $2,847 total, and wrote the number in the ledger Diego kept. His handwriting looked strange to him, like someone else was controlling his hand. Good, Diego said, glancing at the number. Put it in the safe. Combination is 15237. Don't forget it, and don't tell anyone. Miguel moved to the safe in the corner, a heavy green mausoleum that looked like it dated back to the 1940s. The combination worked smoothly, and he placed the money inside next to several other boxes and a couple of handguns wrapped in cloth. The sight of the guns made his stomach turn. Miguel. Diego's voice was casual, but Miguel had learned to recognize the edge beneath it. Sit down. Let's talk. Miguel closed the safe and took the empty chair at the table. The 3 other men watched him with varying degrees of interest. Flaco looked amused. Benny indifferent, Carlos openly assessing. "You've been doing good work," Diego said. "Clean, quiet, professional. That's what I need. But I want to make sure we understand each other, that you're clear on how things work in my world." "I understand," Miguel said. "Do you?" Diego leaned forward, his gold chain catching the light from the bare bulb overhead. "Because here's the thing, Miguel. You made a deal with me, your work for my protection and the right to see my sister. But deals only work when both sides hold up their end. You hold up yours, I hold up mine. But if you start thinking about walking away, if you start getting ideas about going back to your old life..." He let the sentence hang there, unfinished but clear. "I won't," Miguel said, though the words tasted like ash. "Good. Because I like you, Miguel. I really do. You're smart, you're loyal to your friends, you love my sister. Those are good qualities. But loyalty to your friends, that can be complicated. Your boy Marcus, for instance. He's leaving for Colombia in 2 months. That's a big opportunity. You happy for him?" Miguel felt his jaw tighten. Of course, Diego echoed. "But it must sting a little, no? Your best friend getting out while you're stuck here, working for me. And Tommy, I hear he's pretty pissed about the whole thing. Feels like Marcus betrayed him. That's got to create some tension in your little crew." Miguel said nothing. He could see where this was going, could feel Diego probing for weaknesses. "Here's what I'm thinking," Diego continued. "Your friends are going to come looking for you, probably Marcus first. He's the smart one, the leader. He's going to try to convince you to walk away from our deal, tell you that you can still get out, still have a future. And when he does, I need to know you're going to tell him no. I need to know you understand that you're part of my organization now, and that means your loyalty is to me first." "They're my friends," Miguel said quietly. "And I respect that. But friends come and go. Family is forever. And you're family now, Miguel. You're with Carmen, which makes you my family. That's a bond that doesn't break." Diego stood up, signaling the conversation was over. "Go home. Get some rest. Tomorrow I need you to make a run to Washington Heights, pick up a package. Flaco will go with you, show you the route. And Miguel, don't make me regret giving you this opportunity. Don't make me regret trusting you with my sister." Miguel nodded and left, walking out of the social club into the thick night air. The street was quiet, most people inside escaping the heat. He walked slowly toward his apartment, his mind churning. He'd told himself he was doing this for Carmen, for his friends, for some kind of future. But standing in that back room counting drug money while Diego talked about loyalty and family, Miguel had felt the trap closing tighter. He was in Diego's world now, and Diego was making sure he understood there was no easy way out. 2 blocks from home, he saw a familiar figure leaning against a lamppost. Marcus. Miguel's first instinct was to turn around to avoid the conversation he knew was coming. But Marcus had already seen him, was already pushing off the lamppost and walking toward him. Miguel. Marcus. They stood facing each other on the empty sidewalk, 2 friends who'd known each other since they were 6 years old, who'd shared everything from comic books to dreams. Now there was a distance between them that felt wider than the few feet of concrete. "We need to talk," Marcus said. "About what? About how you're leaving and I'm staying? About how you got out and I didn't?" The words came out harsher than Miguel intended, fueled by 3 days of counting money and swallowing his pride. About how Diego Santos played you. About how this whole thing with Carmen was a setup from the beginning. Miguel felt something cold slide through his chest. "What are you talking about?" "Ray talked to Carmen. She admitted it. Diego knew about you two from the start. He's been watching all of us, gathering information, looking for leverage. He used his own sister to recruit you, Miguel. He manipulated both of you." Miguel wanted to deny it, wanted to call Marcus a liar. But even as the anger rose in his throat, another part of him, the part that had always been good at reading people, at seeing patterns, recognized the truth. The way Diego had known so much about him before they'd ever formally met. The way Carmen's brother had been so quick to offer a deal instead of just beating him bloody like he should have. The way this had all felt too easy, too convenient. "It doesn't matter," Miguel said, though his voice lacked conviction. "It does matter. It means you can still walk away. It means..." "I can't walk away." Miguel's voice rose, echoing off the buildings. "Don't you get it, Marcus? I'm in now. Diego owns me. I know where his money is. I know his operation. I know too much. If I try to leave, he'll kill me. Or worse, he'll hurt Carmen. He'll hurt you and Ray and Tommy. That's how this works. Then we go to the police, Marcus said desperately. We tell them everything. And what? Diego gets arrested? His crew comes after my family? After your mother? You think the cops care about us? You think they'll protect us? Miguel shook his head. You're about to leave for Colombia, Marcus. You're going to that fancy school, and you're going to forget all about this neighborhood and the people in it. Don't pretend you're staying to save me. Don't pretend you're going to sacrifice your future for mine. That's not fair. Fair? Miguel laughed, a sound with no joy in it. Nothing about this is fair. You got the grades, the scholarship, the way out. I got a draft notice coming and a gang leader who owns me. Tommy's got an alcoholic father and no prospects. Ray's got a family that needs him more than City College does. Where's the fairness in any of that? Marcus reached out, put a hand on Miguel's shoulder. We can figure this out. We always do. For a moment, Miguel wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe they were still those 4 kids who'd sworn blood oaths in the playground, who'd promised to always have each other's backs, who'd thought friendship could conquer anything. But they weren't kids anymore. Go home, Marcus, Miguel said, pulling away. Go home and start packing for Colombia. That's your future. This, he gestured at the street, the neighborhood himself. This is mine. He walked away before Marcus could respond, before the tears burning behind his eyes could fall. Behind him, he heard Marcus call his name once, then silence. Miguel didn't look back. Looking back was for people who still had choices. He was 2 blocks from his apartment when he realized someone was following him. Not Marcus. The footsteps were different, heavier. Miguel's heart rate kicked up as he quickened his pace, but the footsteps matched him. He turned onto his street and the follower turned too. Miguel spun around, hands raised, ready to fight or run. It was Carlos, Diego's cousin, the enforcer from the social club. He stood 10 feet away, hands in his pockets, expression neutral. Relax, Carlos said. Diego sent me to make sure you got home safe. Can't have his new guy getting jumped on the way home, right? The message was clear. Diego was watching. Always watching. Miguel nodded, turned, and walked the last block to his building. Carlos followed at a distance, a shadow that wouldn't leave. Inside his apartment, Miguel's mother was asleep on the couch, still in her factory uniform, exhausted from another double shift. Miguel covered her with a blanket and went to his room, where he lay on his bed and stared at the ceiling. He thought about Carmen, about the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. He thought about his friends, about the summers they'd spent together thinking they'd be young forever. He thought about the draft notice that would arrive any day now, about Vietnam and the boys from the neighborhood who'd come back in body bags or not at all. Mostly, he thought about the look on Marcus's face when Miguel had walked away. The hurt, the confusion, the desperate hope that there was still a way to fix this. There wasn't. Some traps, once sprung, couldn't be escaped. Miguel closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but all he could see was Diego Santos's smile, and all he could hear was the click of dominoes and the sound of money being counted over and over, like a heartbeat that wasn't his own.